We finally solved it. We figured out what's really going on. And you know what? It was really in front of our face the entire time, but no one's really putting two and two together. Why is there really this hate for Drake? And I even had to analyze my own hate for Drake. Well, you guys know I'm a reformed fan, right? I started off as a fan of Drake during MySpace era. And over the last 6, 7 years, I slowly became a hater. Right around, specifically around 2016, 17, 18. Specifically 18 and 19. And I proceeded to hold those sentiments for the next few years. And bucking heads with folks who I would consider to be my brothers, but they happen to be a part of the team. So, why am I even mentioning all this? Why is this even coming back up at this point when I'm no longer a hater? And the issues that I had or have or whatever, because they were never truly resolved, but they've been diminished in my mind in terms of the importance of what I needed to do in order to move on in my career. But let's still look at it, right? Because I'm an individual who takes a lot of time to do a lot of introspection and retrospection about myself, my life, past events, actions, people a part of my life, and things like that. So for any of you who are overthinkers, you know you never get 2 plus 2 wrong because you're an overthinker. How are you going to get 2 plus 2 wrong? You might get maybe more complex ideas wrong because you overthink to the point where things that are simple about the complex situation you complicate. So the situation might be complicated, but as you bite-size approach each individual situation that culminates this entire issue, you realize, okay, each situation is simple. It's just looking at them all together makes it complex. And then maybe there might be a couple situations that require a bit more extensive work. All that to say, when I'm looking back now at my career, at these relationships, and at this whole conversation about the hate for Drake, you gotta blame OVO. And it's not OVO, OVO, or whatever. Like, it's not that energy. It's the reality that this is the entourage that truly, like, they give y'all the Drake energy. Like, this is why the industry has a Drake energy. Not because of Drake, because of his team. And that's why every music entity speaks about, or any successful music advice you get will always focus on having a team. But what specifically about this team am I speaking to that would have to do with hating Drake? Why would we hate Drake because of OVO? Because they're all noobs, okay? Or they were. They were all noobs. Everybody on Drake's team never been in the music industry in terms of the wider international or American scene. Some of them, yes, of course. And obviously we have individuals who are tenured in terms of their experience. But the general vibe of OVO where, yo, these are my guys. I'm having all my guys come through and play specific roles. Why? Because they played these roles in Toronto. All right, so for example, I'll speak to the only person I could speak to, because that's the main person I had interactions with from the team on a business level. Okay, well, OVO Jason or Jason R. Johnson. He is a real estate agent. He hosts parties. He's just really a popular dude from the ends. Okay, this is from back in the day. I'm not speaking about what he does now, but at the time when we were all younger, he was like, yo, this guy is already selling homes and he's throwing parties, been throwing parties and da da da. He's really in the scene. to the point where like his friendship with Drake clearly led him to be a host on tour. So he would be on tour and he would host Drake's VIP section. So if you happen to be frequent a Drake show, or you went to a Drake show and you had access to go to VIP, probably Jason was the one hosting you, asking you if you're all right, if you need anything, right, and making sure the hostess and other people are bringing drinks and stuff like that, as well as smoozing whatever sweet things that are in the VIP for the mandem, right? All that to say, all that to friggin' say, because Jason's an angel. Not like, I don't think Jason will ever be one of the reasons why OVO is hated, because that guy, not to call you an angel, but it's like that guy has a good heart. He's actually like a good youth, like literally a good youth. I've never heard anything or had any interactions. Everyone who I know who knows him. So there's actually a lot of like upstanding individuals. Low key, everybody in, like, we're Canadian, man. Like, let's keep it a buck. We're Canadian. But let's get back to the real issue. Like I said, noobs. Jason's a noob in terms of the international music scene at that time, traveling, going on tour, playing that role. He would have been a noob. But he was an experienced noob because of the local scene. Toronto, being the fourth biggest city in North America, has a very large industry for specific niches, right? Depending on the niche, right? We have a large population, and maybe in terms of services, the gamut of services that Canada provides for its populace may not be as diverse as what you find in the United States. Like, we don't even have as much slot machines and places to like enjoy the whole idea of gambling. Yeah, we got some bopping spots, but not in comparison to the United States. And obviously, I'm like numbers wise, per capita. Okay, let's look at it like per capita. Okay, still, United States has way more spots for you to go and lose your money. Let's keep it a buck. But all that to say, when it comes to the music industry, these dudes, anyone who's locked into the music industry becomes a guy, becomes a go-to. As soon as, like, you know, you're frequented regularly, because of the nature of our populace, the size of it, and the concentration of individuals around Toronto, specifically Toronto, creates this unique vibe where you could, like, here's the best way to put it. Everybody who plays sports, let's say play basketball, everyone who played ball, elementary school, was not, no one cared. Like, how good you are, it didn't really matter, okay? Then middle school, it might have kind of mattered, depending on what school, what location, what area, right? There's some middle schools that really cared about their ball team, and the coaches were serious and this, that, and they're yelling at their kids, whatever case may be. Then you get to high school. Of course, certain high schools, scouts were pulling up, right? So let's say you were the best on your ball team in middle school. But the middle school you went to wasn't the one that cared about basketball like that, okay? You being the best there is not going to transcend you to just automatically being the best, like in the NBA. As much as maybe, like, literally you're better than other people who are making it to the NBA, the position of where you're coming from, the demographic of where you're coming from, is not earning you stripes, because maybe you're coming from an area that's not a basketball area or basketball school. So this, now take this example and let's bring it to music. All of OVO is coming from Canada. All of OVO is coming from a city that was not a hip hop city, that was not immediately music adjacent. Every local who's working in the music industry, or local musician, aspiring musician, will complain and talk to you about the lack of services, the lack of platforms, the lack of just generally opportunities for the music scene. Well, back then, 10 years ago, right? Obviously now, OVO, so many other investors have stepped in and created more opportunities for people to just do well from the exploits of music. All that to say, the United States is a place where masonry and like take it a bit more literal. I am using that as an entendre, where I'm switching it, playing with it. But the masonry of how you get into an industry in the United States is completely about earning your stripes. It's completely about, oh, you're new, you better be happy to be here, right? Oh, you're new, you better humble and chill out and wait your turn. But as you can see, OVO has never been that, and they have not and will continue not to be that. Look at them suing UMG. What label, homegrown label of guys who are working together, built up their thing over a decade, is like, okay, we built this up over a decade. Let's sue the biggest guy in the game. Let's sue the biggest brand ever. Let's sue Universal Music, who is not just powerful because of their music entity. They're powerful because they're a media entity. Look at all the films. We can just go Google Universal Films and see all the amount of movies that the same entity creates. So they're very powerful. This is not like music power. This is brand media power. Because if you know anything about the film game, their budgets like dwarf anything called music. Like even music budgets, a part of the film is just a tiny little sliver. Oh, you know what? Let's get all for the orchestras, for the cellos and all those guys who's going to compose the music. Let's pay them, right? Those deals are like siphoned off earlier. Oh, you know what? We're going to get a license deal for this, license deal. So they're paying minimal for music versus the actor to be on set or to even utilize a sample from like another movie or stuff like that. They pay big money for those things, way more than music. They pay way more to sample a television clip from real TV, right? Something that actually happened on TV and they want to use it in a movie. They pay way more for that than for music. Maybe not for originally created music, but to license a song you already created to be put into a movie, yeah, they're not paying you big like they're licensing, like, you know, visual. They're saying, hey, the first thing people do is see things. They don't really hear things. They see, you know, like, so, god damn, we're going to pay that big rate. Anyways, all that to say, music industry is already like disrespected. It's already like, bro, we don't really rate you guys. You guys are in the background. When we go on the elevator, you guys is in the background music. No one's like, oh, let me go on the elevator, choose, select music, and then select your floor. No, you just go select your floor, whatever music's playing, you don't care. And that's basically the whole idea of OVO and the industry of like, yo, you guys are making stuff that we just don't even care about anyways. How dare you think you have power to move the needle or to even influence how deals are done or how executives need to move in the space with you creatives, right? That's the actual issue. Now, there are more trivial issues, like these guys being cocky and knowing that they're like making executives have to bend and da-da-da, right? They're saying, no, Drizzy not signing that. The boy ain't signing that. You better ante up, you know what I mean? They're feeling super powerful because they're literally representing the strongest brand in music. And they're probably making new mistakes. They're probably like pissing people off and stepping on bare toes with this amass of power that they're walking in as Canadian executives. Black, Jamaican, right? A lot of these dudes, majority of these dudes are coming in with a Jamaican yachty energy too. They're coming like, yo, my parents was born in yacht. I was born in Canada, or born as a young person in yacht and grew up in Canada. I'm coming with that energy. I'm coming with that aggressiveness. And to be honest, we see how you guys already dealt with our American Jamaicans, so we're not taking that either. We don't care about your whatever, reparation, da-da-da. We don't care about those conversations like that. Because we've seen when our Jamaican bros cared about it, you still diss them. And you play with the history. I'm going down a different rabbit hole. I probably, like, they do not have any of these iotas of how I'm speaking in terms of their way of moving in the game. I'm just speaking like, you know, figuratively in a sense, but you get the point. You know what I mean? They're probably feeling that delineation energy, like, yo, you're not one of us from time. Because even I felt it. I felt it when I went to intern. Were you Jamaican? Like, as soon as they hear me speak, they know that I'm not one of them. So they're gonna ask the question as soon as they realize, oh, you Jamaican, or you have Jamaican back, or you from Canada, you got that Drake sound. Boom, is like assumptions and limitations in terms of what role or what expectations they're looking from me. And it's cool, it's dope. Like, in some sense it can be a benefit, but in another sense it can be like box you down, especially at that time. Drake's sound wasn't as wide and understood as it is now. So I'm just kind of trying to think of it from their point of view and also from an industry point of view. You got a bunch of Canadian niggas, like black, Jamaican, like I know how they're Scarborough mans too. A lot of them Scarborough mans, like, like not but like we don't give a blood bomber clot, like, you know what I mean? Because they have that Like, I don't care what Americans want to talk about. Well, you guys don't have real ghettos in Canada, but yeah, our immigrant population come from places that look worse than any ghetto you can find in the United States. Okay, we can find some of the worst ghettos in Jamaica. They don't even call them ghettos. They call them what do you call it? I don't remember the term right now. They don't even call them ghettos. They use like an army term, like you know what I mean, like a term that like you know what I mean. But yeah, obviously we call them ghettos in the ghetto, but it's like that's not the current word. I don't remember the current word right now. I feel kind of dunce for not knowing it. I'm trying to remember it, but I'm wasting time. So anyways, the point of it, you have all of these guys who are noobs. They're moving around, telling folk what's happening, telling folk, no, Drake not going on at that time. He's going on at this time. No, he's not that. He's this. No, we're not pulling up unless you throw the money first, and just moving super like super gangster. And that's realistically why Drake can rap gangster, because everybody in his team has been moving and no one can sun them. No one's sunning these guys. They're super guys. Like, you know what I mean? And then they're up. So they're super guys because they've been in the fourth biggest city, having to maneuver in such a large population, where the United States has been closing their eyes to say, like, we don't even know what goes on up there. You guys living in igloos? What, you can't blame Canada? Like, all this different energy over the last 25, 30 years, realistically, just like, we don't pay attention to you guys. And I get it, be like, you know, in the antiquities of Canada is like, we're not those Americans. We're you know, we're British colony still. We're loyal to the Queen. These guys revolted against the British, right? So there's obviously some kind of like, you know, there's polys. But what would that have to do with black Jamaicans, right? Because Jamaicans, in a sense, kind of have this weird loyalty to Britain and England. Like, we kind of have still, like, it's still like deep within us. May not be for the Queen literally, but it might be for certain cultural things where Americans don't rock with it at all. So you have the Jamaican immigrants coming through, and they've soft introduced that love for the monarch or monarch culture in certain ways, certain types of words or language or whatever the case may be. It's already ticked off Americans. So now you're coming in as a Canadian, where you have your Canadianized allegiances to British culture, certain things, certain nuances, the way you speak, the way you regard people, how you using liters versus gallons, whatever. Like, you get it. Plus the Jamaican side of that too. And you're winning more than any executive in music. Like, you're the noob, you're the Jamaican guy, you're the Canadian guy representing Drake, and you have you have the Arab dudes, you have, like, it's a multicultural crew. But let's not act like it ain't what it is. It's a Jamaican thing, okay? It's a Jamaican thing. So you're the noob and you've been swatting down, like, you see how we act when Bolt wins and he comes number one. When Usain Bolt becomes number one, we make Americans, United Stations, feel so shame. Oh, you guys are the big and baddest, but you can't be the fastest? To the point that, look, Shakari and the my youth there, they come in first once for a little bit, like they just start gaining a little energy, don't even really beat the Jamaicans, or if they beat the Jamaicans, they're beating, like, you know, Jamaicans past their prime, like, you know, Shelly Price, or not Shelly Price, but whatever, Shelly Fraser. They're beating folk who, in a sense, are kind of past their prime, been holding the torch for like 10 something years. Like, Bolt's not even racing. Bolt has a big belly, not even rocking abs no more. So, but they still celebrate like they actually like destroyed the Jamaicans. Oh, we destroyed. Oh, we're coming for the Jamaicans. We're coming. Like the real competition in America is the tiny little Jamaica and a big United States. And let's explain that quick because I know this video is going long. Why is there this antiquity of hate or animosity between the two? Because Jamaica with an X, A, Y, A, wait, I should have, wait, am I spelling it right? X, A, M, A, Y, C, A. There we go. Anyways, that is the ancient original name for Jamaica, for the island, Jamaica with an X. And it shows you its antiquities is Taino, its antiquities is Arawak, its antiquities is ancient indigenous. And the people of the island still understand these histories, still actually know it, and are the people of antiquities from the island. So, what does that do? It puts a conflict of interest. When you have a literal hit country, an actual full country that existed before the United States that has a contrasting history different from the United States. Because the United States says, oh, there was nobody in Jamaica. When Christopher Columbus got there, they killed all the natives. There was a bit of natives there. They killed them all. So there's no one there. Or you know what? There was even this story. When they got there was literally no one there. They brought even everybody there, natives, anybody that you see there was brought to that island. There's been so many wayward stories when Jamaica has a paper trail that exists before the existence of the United States. In the 15 to 1600s, that Port Royal was the most traversed port on this side of the hemisphere. You got to look at that like being a New York, right? In terms of a trade hub where things are coming in and then going out, right? Everyone talks about, oh God, like the natural flow of the stream and the ocean brings you to that area, brings you right to Cuba, whatever, Jamaica's right beside it. So why do we think that folks weren't using boats prior to Columbus when we see the Egyptians had boats prior to Columbus? So if Africans had boats prior to Columbus, why are we listening to white people's story about anything about the planet? And if Jamaica literally has a history before the USA existed, right? They were colonies trying to figure out how to unionize themselves, right? So they literally each become states. So they're each countries. They're a state like how Israel's a state. We don't call Israel a province equivalent, right? And what's a province? You break these words down, you start realizing there's a lot of duping going around. But the whole point is, you're, because I'm going super deep, like way too nuanced for the actual point of people's hate. But when you look at the fact that Black Americans delineate from Jamaicans in order to make their claim for reparations, when Jamaicans have been in the Americas, all through Canada, United States, Brazil, wherever, we've been through this entire place from its antiquities from before. If our country was the most traveled and sending stuff and shipping this and sending slaves and sending merch and sending this and shipping out sugarcane and shipping out coconuts and shipping out all these things, cobalt, is it cobalt? Well, limestone at least, right? There's so many things that you can find as resources in Jamaica and the surrounding Caribbean. So this perspective that it was like, nah, like Christopher Columbus didn't know what he was searching for. He was just like, no, they knew specifically that this area was full of gold, resources. Like they knew that. This is nothing new. Africans been coming to the Americas from way before. There's books about this. They knew about the Americas. The Americas was not no like, oh, we're gonna search and find the Americas and hope like, find India. Oh, what is this, India? Oh no, it's not Indians. Maybe it's Indians or no. That whole story is a lie, right? You can yourself go and search and find and read Christopher Columbus. Maybe I need to do that. I need to do a video about Christopher Columbus's diary and just expose how his translator to the natives was a Black person. And that in the book, the people that they saw when they landed in Cuba and such were Black people, quote unquote, because Black is not even it's a misnomer. My skin's not even black. I'm brown. I'm a human. Hue. There's human. I'm a human. Okay, so it's like all the original words, all these words we use actually denote dark-skinned people. Indigenous, indigo, like dark purple, like dark. Like the whole, every word we use to describe humans, like people, has to do with like the originality of being black. And all indigenous people are black around the entire planet. The original Asians are black, right? They find themselves descending from the San people. The original Gauls or British, whatever, they were black, darker skinned and stuff. Like every antiquity of people was dark skinned. So we can go to the Olmecs, the Mayans, they were dark skinned. They were Americans. The original Americans were dark skinned people. So when you expose that, when you get down to that crux, you're like, oh, that will frig up reparations conversation. Because when you realize we're not repairing for slavery, we're repairing for POWs, like prisoners. Like, this is our land. This is like, I don't want you to give me a piece of the pie that is owed to me. Give me the pie. This is my place. Give me the pie and I will give you what I feel. Right? It completely changes the dynamic of power. It changes the dynamic of conversation towards power. And of course, hip hop is a very great space to propagate ideas. So the powerful Jamaican can't even be in existence like that way. The powerful Jamaican must be in a subservient space like a Busta Rhymes. Nothing against Busta, but Busta only stands up for cultural injustices. He doesn't literally stand up for the literal injustices that I know he sees. And his rich self can maneuver around, but he still sees these injustices. As a Jamaican, over the years that he's been in hip hop, from the jump, he's been from new school or original old OG status all the way through, right? Like, I don't remember the name of the group he was a part of, but you know, what's the scenario? You know that song. He killed the last verse. He ruined the track for everybody. Okay, mash it up. Okay, so the fact that he been in the game, mashing up the game from them days, been signing contracts and from them days, and hasn't exposed how he even speaks about our influence on hip hop in a unique way, where it's like, okay, you get it, but it's like you're speaking in a way that's created issues, because the way he speaks about it, the rest of the Americans, United States, I gotta wrap this video up. I'm going off kilter. And this video has nothing to do with Busta Rhymes at all, literally. Cause you know what I mean, like has nothing to do with Busta Rhymes. I'm out here like sweating, like why I bring up Busta? Anyway, let's get back to the crux, the point of the conversation. OVO Mandem got too much power, and they didn't earn no Masonic stripes. Like, they didn't earn it the usual way. They earned it by being Canadians, by the fact that their parents and people had to earn already a Masonic stripe to even get into Canada. Canada is a place that's pretty easy to get into, but as long as you show back in the day that you were subservient to the laws and you were going to be a good citizen because you had sponsorship by another person who's already a good citizen. So you staying here risk them, risk their money, risk their status with the government. So it was always like, it's always someone in the club who's vouching for you to join the club. So becoming Canadian was a very, in a sense, elitist thing, even though becoming an American is even harder, or it was, or whatever the case would be. My dad tried to become an American or a United Station, didn't get in, came to Canada. He was able to get in. By the time he got his status to become a United Station, he was already here. So he's like, forget it, I'm here, I'm in Canada. So it kind of shows you that, okay, or maybe it's easier, but it takes longer. So maybe they say it's harder because the process is longer. Anyways, all that to say, you could just see that there's a certain allegiance that you have to be able to get into this country, because just generally the majority of the populace here is religious. in terms of being Christian, Protestant, or Catholic, right? Um, and when you understand that your pastor, like especially in Jamaica, your pastor or a doctor or a teacher or principal or some type of government leader, right, had to sign off on your documentations in order for you to even be like, to apply. So you had to be affiliated systemically. Okay, so it's like I'm digging deep into this topic because is referring back to a lot of the points I always come up and speak to in terms of how the system is built and how all these things make us cogs in the machine because they soft disclose the secret societies to us. A lot of us are part of them and don't even know. We don't know that we we signed our souls away or whatever the case may be. Like we sold our souls. We don't even know because we're part of these ancient groups that now rebranded. You know what I mean? They rebrand themselves. They call themselves media organizations or they call themselves charities and stuff like that. But their antiquities are individuals who earned their growth, success, power, and all these things through these more like secret means, through these groups that weren't really known to be organizations until more recently. So the fact that we don't know who's the descendants of the Illuminati or the Masons or the Bilderbergs or like all these whatevers, but there's still new billionaires being created in our face and Elon Musk and all this. We don't know where their true alliances and allegiances come from and are to. But one thing I know about Jamaica, we're not for the nonsense. Okay? In Jamaica, we're not for the nonsense. In terms of the nonsense we see around the world, Jamaica's not about it. Jamaicans speak out against it. All the bloggers, you can see them, whatever, is a thing. We watch the world and we know the effery going on, okay? And we speak about it. And I'm not saying other cultures don't. Of course, other cultures do. But do they have the legacy of a Bob Marley in terms of revolution? Do they have the legacy of a Marcus Garvey in terms of starting the whole idea of like civil rights movement in the United States, starting a printer press, printing his own newspaper, sharing his own propaganda, marketing his views? This is before black people was doing it. Like he did it. Black people, as in black Americans, because they're delineating and they say, you're not even black. You're not even a black man. You're not, you Caribbean. You British. You whatever. He starts using words colloquially incorrectly because I guess Americans think that, United Stations. That's why I say United Stations, because I'm really trying to get us away from calling this specific group of people Americans when we're all Americans. This is North America, South America, Central America. That's it. There's no country here called America. You guys are the United States of America because you guys are states and states are countries. So you're not Americans. You're whatever your state is called. Missourians and, you know what I mean? Californians and, you know what I mean? Georgians. You get it? Not, if anything, United Stations is to wake you up to what you really are, is your state. And here in Canada, even though I have to do a bit more research, but the fact is we are a defunct colony. We're not a country. We are a defunct colony. That's why even, Trump can talk up so big. But he doesn't realize he's really talking to the royal family because they own 80+% of the literal land privately in Canada. This is not about, no, they literally own the land. And folks will be like, no, that's not true. We have no allegiances to the royal family. Then why is our system still the exact same? If we have no allegiances, then why do we still have the governor general? Why is the land registered under the crown? It would just be registered in the Canadian government. Or why are we still using these terminology? Oh, just because, symbolic. Shut up. Nothing is symbolic when it comes to language, okay? Language are not symbols for symbol's sake. Language are symbols for literal sake. Symbols represent what's actually happening. And for some reason, Canadians feel like we're not running underneath the monarch when everything, our money's still monarch driven. Our money still have the monarch family on it. Our land is owned by the monarch family. And our laws is still governed by a governor general that represents the monarch family. But people are going to say, oh no, but they told us on paper. On paper, when you read it, it says Canada's not. But when you literally look at Canada, money-wise, we are. So it's like, I'm tired of it. Our tax dollars literally go to the crown. You're paying land tax. When you pay land tax, that's the same king we've been paying tax to from the early days of whatever the days. Tax. And these tax weren't even supposed to be permanent. All these tax, income tax, these things are supposed to be temp. So you know what's really going on. We're still in the 1600s. We're still in the mindset is still of the 14, 15, 1600s. Yeah, we got technology, all these great things, but the way the laws and the way our commerce is built is still built on these old ways of thinking. So we don't want no Jamaicans powerful. We don't want no Jamaicans adjacent to this power too close, because they're the demographic that knows the truth. They're the demographic where their musician comes up on stage, changes the world with just simple pieces of truth. And it's twanged in with their Jamaican patois, so it's almost like certain folk don't get what's happening until it's too late. Like, this is a very dangerous culture. They know how to engage folk towards very, very extreme means of whether violence, love, partying, growth, consciousness. This population, and they're English, but they're not speaking English. We're a very dangerous group when you really look at what Jamaicans are, and our influence is so influential. Like, you go to anywhere where the loudest people in the room, now everybody wants to play dancehall and play reggae when they never played it before. But just because the one Jamaican friend or the 2, 3 Jamaican friends just create such a big energy, everybody else is like, yo, I want to be with these guys. You know what I mean? I ain't even really mentioned all the big cultural names. I just mentioned the big 2. Marcus Garvey and Bob. That's it alone. Much less Vibes Cartel and what he's about to do right now. He's moving through the industry like royalty. Just because we call him world boss. Jamaicans called him world boss, and you guys are respecting it. It's facts. I've never seen no one say, who is this world boss? People try and disrespect and say, what's dancehall, who's Vibes Cartel, but no one ever says, what, world boss? He ain't no world boss. How dare you know Jamaican gangsters will show up to your door and shot out. Anyways, that energy, even that whole little rant speech I went on, that's annoying to the average United Station. That whole vibe, this whole vibe of I'm cocky, not because of my adjacent to you being American and black or whatever, like how Americans always think people's cockiness come from. Oh, y'all cocky and whatever, because you rocking with our gangsterism off of our slang, our move, our whatever. Your gangsterism is white Sicilian, white Italian men, old men, not no. You guys taking their immigrant story of coming here and having to mob up. That's their mob story. We ain't no mobs, like, you know what I mean? But the Jamaicans, we are known for being, okay, I'm not gonna get into that. Anyways, you get the point. We have real gangsterism in our culture. Jamaicans have real gangsterism. Like, it's not like marketed mainstream gangsterism. Our gangsterism is a self-fulfilled prophecy of itself. Yeah, we're influenced by American culture. Yes. But because we've been in American culture from the beginning. I told you that already. So we have cousins and family in Canada. The Scotians have Jamaican antiquities, right? So many different populations in Canada will be like, we know we're Jamaican. The Maroons and whatever, we know, yeah, we know. But for some reason, the United States, it gets conflated. They don't want to talk about the fact that slaves were being sent all over, like basketball players now, right? Oh, you used to play for Cleveland, now you playing for Houston, now you playing for whatever. That's how slaves were sent back, POWs, right? Prisoners of war, really. But that's how we were shipped. We were shipped to Jamaica to be broken. The leaders, anybody who was really rebellious, was shipped to Jamaica specifically to be broken, to be broken. And we're not going to talk about that. But that's the history. We know that Black Americans were sent to Jamaica. So a lot of the Jamaicans used to live in the inland of the Americas. And we know that majority of the ships moving slaves around were doing that. They weren't moving them from Africa to the Americas. They were moving them from different spots of the Americas. And it's cheaper and easier. Why are you going to go and all the way to Africa just to get a guy when there's people here? And the only thing you want to do is get them out of their natural known habitat into another habitat or area where they're not so familiar to reduce the runaways. And that's what it was. It's like, okay, you're going to run away, but you don't even know where you are. We're not even in South America no more, bro. We're in North America or whatever. Like, we're not in, like, you get what I'm saying? Like, if you coming from a culture where you walking everywhere, riding horses, maybe. I don't even think there was riding horses, but you walking everywhere, running everywhere, and now people put you on a ship and bring you kilometers upon kilometers, hundreds of kilometers up the ocean, but they just have to go up the shore. And that's you could go and research the travel passageways and how they were traveling. They were traveling upshore. They would travel close to shore. They weren't going deep into the abyss of the ocean to go travel nowhere. Fam, are you crazy? Research. Like, people don't research, so they just follow propaganda and the narrative. So now we get into this place where we're talking about the hate for OVO, and you can't see the antiquities of where a group filled of Jamaicans who are richifying themselves already becoming, like, there's already a bourgeoisie class in Jamaica. Don't get it twisted. Like, Jamaicans, they're super rich. The richest Canadian is a Jamaican. The richest black Canadian is a Jamaican guy. Yeah, he's Asian mix or whatever, but whatever. Last name Lee, but I'm a black man and he's Jamaican, or whatever the case may be. Asian mix, whatever. He's Jamaican. The point is, Jamaicans make moves. We infiltrate. We've been apart. We have tenure. It's a different conversation. And where island looks small, so we're taken for granted. But there's more Jamaicans outside of the island at this point than there are on the island. There's more diaspora Jamaicans, and our men, we out here making babies. So the conversation is very, very diverse. You have Jamaicans of every race. We're on every country. We've infiltrated every country. There's every person of every country in Jamaica. That's why our motto has always been, out of many, one people. Okay? So don't get confused. A lot of y'all look at Jamaica as this trope, as this smoke weed every day and drunk, right? Like, that's the trope. That's what America promotes, to take you away from the actual revolution that Jamaica presents as a country just by existing and in its antiquities and historical relevance to every conversation. But yeah, I think I've kind of over-explained the point. I might not even honed in on the actual OVO issue, Drake guys issue. I might have glossed more to the nuance, but whatever. Everyone and anyone can be an asshole, and all executives and people are assholes in the game. So I can't say, oh, them specifically being assholes to people are a reason why they're getting. No, there's executive, bro. Like, everybody an asshole in the game. This game's full of snakes and sharks. So no one could say, oh, yo, the OVO guys did this to me, and that's why that's why Drake does it. Well, no, there's people who could say Babyface and this, that, and Jimmy Iovine and Kendrick's team and Nicki Minaj team and Lil Wayne or Eminem. There's people who could, you know what I mean? Akon literally took up a fan and threw him off a stage. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've never seen Drake or OVO do any of that stuff. And was it one of T.I.'s guys peed on Drake? Like, I've never seen anybody from OVO peeing on anyone else. Okay, so there's nothing I could come up here and say, well, OVO infracted this way, because there's horrible stories about every camp in the industry. But this historical aspect of them having this very strong Jamaican vibe, and I've noticed that just generally in hip-hop, they don't like giving Jamaicans the love. They always put the Jamaican last. On them old school 90s records where there was always a Jamaican or Busta Rhymes or whoever, they put them last. You always hear the last verse. It was never the first or second verse. It's only like, after Shaggy and whatever. It's like only after a certain era of Jamaicans coming in and dominating the pop charts with these like crossover reggae vibes that, I don't know, or maybe there's so many Caribbeans in the United States now, so many folk who hide in it. but they know, oh yeah, we have a great grandmother who was Jamaican or whatever. It's like everyone's realizing they are Caribbean. I think everyone's realizing the history of the Caribs. Like, do that historical search. The history of the Caribs is enough to like destroy every other conversation about anything about people in this place, about in this land. Like, just research who are the Caribs. How did the Caribs get to the Caribbean? Just research that. Just go on that search. Okay. Then you'd be like, God damn, okay, these people been here for a hot minute. They probably have like different claims and different perspectives about what should be going on here. Cause we've been here before the natives coming through the Alaskan Strait escaping Genghis Khan. The fact that we know they were escaping Genghis Khan. You know what I'm saying? The Inuit Eskimo folk, they was escaping a nigga who wasn't alive too, who was alive not too long ago. Well, obviously, like, you know, a couple thousand, whatever, years ago, 500 years ago, but it still shows you that these people weren't here that long. You're trying to go on like these people here for thousands and thousands of years. Nigga, y'all was talking about running from Genghis Khan. What? 5,000, 10,000, 15. Cut it out. Cut that out. Trying to have showing pictures of like Asian people like walking with mammoths. Cut it out. Cut it out. Even in like, they don't, obviously scientifically, we don't believe humans were around with these, you know, these type of animals. But just the point of, even in our imagination when we draw in that area, yo, the Eskimos and they were with the mammoths and they were Asian looking. And nah, bro, if there's anybody up there with mammoths, it would have been black people, okay? So, hope this answers your question. Give some more credence of why OVO is really getting the hate they're getting. And why it's difficult. It has really nothing to do with Drake and Jewish. Like, Jews run music. Jews run music, man. Jews run the music industry. There's nobody there gonna be like, yo, we're cutting Drake off because he's Jewish and Canadian. No, it's because of all the blood clot Jamaican black people. See? So understand the Wagwans and why this movement of OVO is actually probably the largest thing for black people ever. Like I said, I'm not gonna go into my personals. I avoided all of that, but just know what's actually going on. All right, peace.